This episode of the Europuck podcast is brought to you by DraftKings. Grab your peanuts and popcorn, folks, because baseball is back. Though last year's season was certainly unique, it didn't lack its usual excitement, and as each team returns to the diamond, the upcoming year is poised to be better than ever. DraftKings, the leader in one-day fantasy sports, is putting you on the field with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Playing fantasy baseball is pretty simple, guys. Just pick 10 different players, stay under the salary cap, and pile up points for hits, strikeouts, runs, and so much more. There's no better way to put your baseball knowledge to the test, and competing for millions of dollars throughout the week is a great way to show off your skills, guys. If baseball isn't your kind of thing though, don't worry, as DraftKings also offers plenty of contests for hockey, basketball, and golf too, so you can make it rain on whatever sport is your go-to. Download the DraftKings app now and use promo code THPN during sign-up to get a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. That's code THPN for a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes for a limited time only at DraftKings. A big thank you to DraftKings for sponsoring this episode. Hello, bonjour, hello, hi, heya, and privyet, hockey fans. Welcome back to the Europuck podcast, the show where two Brits talk all things European hockey as part of the Hockey Podcast Network, brought to you by DraftKings. My name is Hayden, or Odd Man Rush, as you can see up there, and joining me, of course, with a lovely little taskbar right underneath his head, which I can't seem to get rid of for whatever reason, it's Chris Gadsby. Hey, Chris.
He's broken it again.
It's why is it me that's got all the problems now, Chris? You're supposed to be the one with the technical problems.
Yeah, well, obviously my internet is protesting about getting changed in a few weeks, so it's deciding to behave itself.
That's it. It's
like, no, it's fine, don't worry about it.
Yeah, you don't know what you're going to miss here, Chris. We've been with you all this time. So how you doing today, Chris? How's it been?
Yeah, it's pretty good, isn't it? Currently Wednesday the 31st of March. As of Monday, we can go outside again and see people in gardens and do outdoor sports. So I've got a golf lesson booked in for Friday. I've got a round of golf for Sunday. I've got another golf lesson then the following Thursday.
Wow.
So yeah, everything's starting to open up. We can go and see people. We can be in people's gardens. And it's been like 22 degrees today.
That's what I was going to say. Complain. That's what I was going to say. Like, it seems as if like the heavens have opened and gone, you want some wonderful sunshine to celebrate this.
But according to the forecast, it's going to snow on Monday.
Really?
According to the forecast, yeah.
And that's on global warming. Great. I don't think we'll probably get any snow down where I live, but enjoy it. Maybe that's to be in line with the Elite Series coming back this weekend, getting into the spirit of that. Maybe the heavens are just huge hockey fans and they just want to give everyone what they deserve, which obviously we've had such a hiatus from the sport in this country for such a long time. Give us something good to think about as the Elite Series kicks off. And obviously we may or may not get into a discussion about that later on this episode because, the Elite Series, the 2021 Elite League Elite Series is starting this weekend. We've kind of discussed it, obviously, the last couple of episodes and had a little chat about it. But we've got plenty of playoffs and plenty of the end of regular seasons to start discussing. So I think we may as well, Chris, just kick off and get on with it, shall we? So let's talk about the KHL. So we finally have our final four in the KHL, and surprise, surprise, it's the 1 and 2 seed from each conference. How very typical. How very routine and typical. So, I'll take you through the final standings of the second round and then give you your conference finalists. So, the first bracket, obviously, we had Akbars Kazan sweeping Salavat Yuleev, the first seed beating the fourth seed. We talked about that last week. The second seed in the Eastern Conference was Avangard Omsk, the second seed, against Metalurg Magnitogorsk, the third seed. Now, that one was a pretty close matchup last time we checked on it. However, the series ended in 6 games. Magnitogorsk couldn't pull a Game 7, and it was 4-2 in favour of Avangard Omsk. They've gone through to the final to face Akbars Kazan. So the first and second seed of the Eastern Conference have gone through. Ilya Kovalchuk there, several different former NHL guys there, so it's going to be a fun series, I would imagine, and both teams seem very deserving of going through to the finals. So Then in the Western Conference, we had CSKA Moscow taking on the 4th seed Lokomotiv Yaroslavl, and wow, that was a close series. Went to a final 7th game, a 2-0 shutout for Moscow, managed to seal the deal for Moscow, the 1st seed to go through. And then SK St. Petersburg did a very good job. Magnus Hellberg, the St. Petersburg netminder, shut out Moscow twice in that series for a 5-game series victory. And now, once again, I get to watch St. Petersburg get defeated by Moscow in the conference finals. Hockey's back, ladies and gents.
I had a look back through previous years, and it's been CSKA Moscow against SKA like every year for the last 8 years, bar one, I think it was.
Yep. So
the only time it wasn't that is because they met in the first round.
Exactly. So like it's very much the disparity between the top and the bottom teams is still there. Obviously, you don't want the talent to be so equal across all the teams that, you know, there isn't really much of a difference between the best and worst. You want the best of the best making it in a deep run into the postseason and kind of earning their place in the finals, the conference finals, whatever. But yeah, I mean, Moscow and St. Petersburg have kind of been the the headlining teams of the Western Conference, as has the likes of Akbars Kazan in the Eastern Conference. So 3 teams that you very much expected to be there. Avangard Omsk has been a team that they made it to the finals a couple of years ago, so I'm not surprised to see them there. I think they lost to CSKA Moscow in 2019, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, as a 2nd seed, you're not surprised to see them there. So although it's very routine and there's no underdogs, it could be kind of considered as the boring option. The 4 teams that were at the end of the regular season, the best teams in their respective conferences and in the league, managed to go through all the way to the conference finals and have the shot at making an appearance in the Gagarin Cup finals. So Chris, what are your thoughts on the KHL playoffs?
You say that. Don't forget SK St. Petersburg only came in 5th in the conference. It was only because of their division that they got the 2nd seed. But SK St. Petersburg can always kind of turn it on in the playoffs. So yeah, I mean, obviously Avangard Omsk, they're going to hope that they don't face the same sweeping fate that Akbars Kazan's first 2 opponents faced. I mean, they just turned it on in games 5 and 6. If you have a look, they won 4-0 and then 5-1. So they only conceded 1 goal in the last 2 games to get past that mark. As you said, CSKA Moscow and Lokomotiv Yaroslavl were giving us a really good series going to game 7. CSKA Moscow only had 20 shots in game 7, yet still came away with a 2-0 victory. Yaroslavl only having 24. St. Petersburg, you kind of got the feeling that St. Petersburg would do that. Yes, they lost the first game, but then they really turned it on 1-0, 3-2, 3-1. And you felt that once they started to do that, they were in their rhythm. They were going to get past Dynamo Moscow. So yeah, it should be an exciting pair of semi-finals. The one thing I really want is a game to go to overtime so we can carry on that.
Yes.
Every series goes to an overtime game. That'd be great. But yeah, just looking forward to that league starts on the 2nd of April, so Friday, and then the series alternates. You get 1 game a day every day. So nothing in that will have finished by the time we record next week, but we might get a good idea of who the finalists might look like.
Or they're probably going to be locked in 2-2 ties or something like that, knowing these teams and how competitive they are.
Knowing those teams, yeah.
And
we're looking at 3 games. We're looking at 2 games in the Akbars Avangard series and 3 games in the CSKA SKA series. So it is going to be still really early days.
Oh, definitely. And I think you wanting that overtime streak to keep going, given the lack of separation between these 4 teams, I would not be surprised to see that, like we mentioned last week. They're all very strong teams, very capable teams. I'm really surprised that St. Petersburg managed to deal with Moscow so... Well, I'm not going to say so easily, because Moscow, they had 2 of the top 5 scorers in the league this year on their roster, and they managed to shut them down for the most part in this series. Dmitry Yaskin didn't score as much as I nearly expected him to, and Vadim Shipachov didn't really get himself on the scoreboard as much as I was expecting either. But this is kind of one of those St. Petersburg's teams that I don't recognise a lot of their players compared to some of the other years that I've followed them. They're more sort of Russian natives that have spent their entire careers in Russia, or guys that have spent their entire career in the Finnish Liga or the SHL, then moved over to the KHL. So not as much North American exposure. But the fact that they've made it, they handled them quite convincingly. They've only lost 2 games in the postseason so far. I was expecting them to have a bit more of a difficult run in this postseason. But
it was the defense.
Yeah, true.
The defense just really took it for them. If you take game 1 out where Moscow won 4-1, they only scored 3 goals in 4 games. It was the defense that really did it for St. Petersburg. And St. Petersburg, that final game, game 5, they won 4-0. They only had 18 shots and they scored 4 of them.
Wow.
So they really just turned it on. And yeah, it was the defense. You know, you're not going to win many series if you're only scoring 3 goals in 4 games.
Exactly. And like they say, defense wins championships, right? And I think the fact that the one thing I will say about St. Petersburg is they did shore up some of their defense this last offseason. Picking up a guy like Magnitogorsk veteran Victor Antipin, I think has had a really good effect on kind of adding a veteran presence who's been to the playoffs, won the championship several times. Because obviously St. Petersburg haven't won the championship since 2017. Like we're now talking, it's been a little while since they last picked one up. And teams like Avangard Omsk, that I'm not sure if they've ever won the championship. So they're a team in the flip side of the conference going, we might need to beat the best of the best to get there, but we deserve our chance in the spotlight as much as anyone else. So very exciting stuff to come over the following few weeks in the KHL playoffs. As you know, we always keep a good eye on it and keep you updated with what's going on there. But I think it's time to move on to some of the other leagues because, you know, we could sit here and talk about the KHL all episode long. Let's move on to the Czech Extraliga now. And we've found out the semi-final brackets, which they were very much following what we were expecting to see, given the results that we saw towards the end of last week in the quarterfinal rounds. Obviously, the top 4 seeds in the league got a first round bye, and all of them swept in the quarterfinals their opponents, which we were thinking that Pardubice...
It's quite a short...
it really is like a short bracket to think about.
It's quite a short playoff system.
Absolutely, and where we were thinking Pardubice might be able to steal a win from Lada Boleslav at some point there, because I think they were up in one of the games that we were talking about as the episode was going on. But as the semi-finals stand, we've got HC Sparta Prague against Billy Tiberi Liberec, the 1st and 4th seed in the first bracket of the semi-finals. Then Osleri Trinec and Mlada Boleslav, the 2nd and 3rd seed in the other semi-final bracket. So similar to the KHL, the 1, 2, 3, 4 seeds. Will it be the 1 and 2 seeds that go through? Will there be an upset here in the semi-final round? Who knows? Chris, what do you want to add about the Czech Extraliga playoffs?
There's not a great deal to add, really.
No.
I wrote in my notes, every quarterfinal was a sweep and 1, 2, 3, 4 are through.
Pretty much.
There's not really much to say. These play at the same time, which is going to make it interesting.
Oh.
But these start on Saturday, so we'll have each series will have played 2 games by the time we record next week. So again, I mean, as I said to you before we came on, like, particularly when we get down to like the semi-finals and the final, there are so few games week to week that doesn't give us a great deal to discuss.
Yeah, exactly. But then again, it also means that we can really hone in, like once the Gagarin Cup finals and the Extraliga finals start, we can really hone in on the individual performances that take place in those games and the overall score differentials and the guys that are really stepping up and making those differences, which we will of course do because we want to cover the finals playoff brackets for all of these different leagues. So, yeah, not really much to talk about because I think several of the brackets were already 3-0 up when we were talking about them last week. So the fact that they managed to complete the sweep doesn't really surprise me in the slightest. So, that's the Czech Extraliga. Not really much else to talk about. Let's move on to the Ice Hockey League, the predominantly Austrian league, and we're some of the way through the second round of the playoffs. We've got HC Bolzano against the Vienna Capitals in the first bracket of that semi-final round, and then Klagenfurt against Red Bull Salzburg in the other bracket. So 1st and 4th seed against 2nd and 3rd seed. Once again, what we were expecting. I'm pretty sure these results had been decided by the time we recorded last week. And interestingly,
Salzburg won their game 6 since we recorded last week.
Okay, that was the last
the
bracket.
Playoffs are 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
But then Klagenfurt have got the best of them so far.
Yes. So as it stands right now, HC Bolzano the 1st seed, Vienna the 4th seed. Series is tied 1-1. So, 4th seed managing to get themselves a win in there. That's pretty good. But on the flip side, Klagenfurt with a 2-0 series lead on Red Bull Salzburg. They're halfway through that series, potentially, to sweeping them and going through to the finals. I mean, judging by the way things are going, I wouldn't be surprised to see another 1 and 2 seed in the finals, which, yes, it's boring. Yes, it's not that much fun, but it's kind of what you expect with the playoffs. Chris, what are your thoughts about the Ice Hockey League and their semi-finals so far?
But don't forget that Klagenfurt, potentially they're only 2 games away from a trophy, because if Bolzano get through, Klagenfurt are Austrian champions.
Oh, yay!
No, I mean, Klagenfurt, they've got the better of Salzburg so far. 4-2 and 3-2. Fair play to Vienna by tying Bolzano at 1 as well. And it was, they came back from a goal down in that one to win that one 2-1. Obviously, we've spoken about this in Austria before, that you don't do like home, away. You keep alternating.
Yes.
So in that series, the teams have won their home games so far, whereas Klagenfurt have picked one up on the road already. So we will wait and see what happens with those ones down the line. Game 5 in the Bolzano Vienna Capitals series is on the 5th. So again, that'll be done by the time we record. And Klagenfurt Game 4 is on the 3rd. So it could be in the finals by the time we record next week.
Interesting. And especially with the Bolzano Vienna series, we'll have to see if home ice advantage really does make the difference down the stretch. So obviously each home side winning their games. Let's see if there's an away victory there. And a sweep in the other one. So let's move on to the Polish league, which is very close towards its end. Obviously entered the playoffs first, I think, out of everybody in Europe, and it looks like they're going to be finishing up first compared to everyone else. So as things stand right now, we've obviously had the semi-final series that we talked about last week, the huge upset by Krakow over Tichy. The final series, we have the second-seeded Jastrzębie, currently 2-1 up to Krakow. However... No, this is what I was going to mention, because Chris was just mentioning to me before we started recording that Game 4 was being played as we were setting up. So, Chris, take us through it. What happened?
30 seconds ago, and it was literally 30 seconds ago, former Nottingham Panther, Zach Phillips,
no way.
In the 17th minute of overtime, has put Jastrzębie 3-1 up in that series.
Oh, okay. So it looks like Jastrzębie is one game away from clinching the Polish playoff championships. Interesting.
They're one game away, and they go back home on Sunday.
Oh, that'll be fun.
So yes, they're one game away. The third place. A thing to note on the third place is it's best of 5, and Tichy have already rounded that off.
Okay.
So that is done. So literally now we have potentially one game left in the Polish league for the year.
And then we can do a nice big roundup, talk about the top scorers from the playoffs. We can, congratulate Jastrzębie for doing such a great job. And everything will be wonderful, won't it, folks? So, that is a look. That is a look at the. My audio seems to be really messing up. I've just noticed that
I could hear it.
My computer keeps telling me, Hayden, we've unplugged a device from your audio jack, and I'm saying I don't want that. So that's fun. That's exciting. So hopefully that figures itself out. But regardless, the third place match. So Chris, what are your thoughts on the on Tichy taking the third place? Obviously, they were the first seed in this matchup. Obviously, we kind of expected them to go deep into the playoffs. Maybe find themselves in the finals was more expected, let's be honest. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, Tichy, they really dominated that third place series. 5-1, 3-1, 4-1. You can't ask for much more than that. It's way to bounce back after losing to Krakow. And I think, losing in the semi-finals, ticket to the sixth seed, it would have been quite annoying. Claim third is a little bit of something just back from the season, but they did completely dominate that series. Krakow, they gave it a really good shot in the finals. They are 3-1 down, and it's a long way back. They've got to win 3 straight games now, and Jastrzębie have got a couple of those at home, so it is going to be difficult. But it's certainly not out of it. And the Polish league, as I said, might be completely finished by this time next week.
Yeah, and that said, though, Krakow, they have been shown that they're a team that they can come from behind in 2 previous series and kind of defeat be the underdogs and kind of defeat the David and Goliath series. So, if there's any team that has the chance to pull this back and maybe get a Game 7 victory, maybe Krakow is that team. So we might be talking about them a little bit longer than we expect. It all depends on how Krakow does. You'll be pleased to know that I managed to fix my audio problems. Thanks for talking, Chris, and getting that figured out. I was just like, oh, quick, onto Zoom, sort out the problem. Oh my God. But I managed to get it done, so I can still hear you through my headphones. I don't think we lost any audio. I apologize if there was any echoing at one point, because it was coming through my TV, and obviously my mic is right there and it picks it all up. So that's fun. So we have one more playoffs, league and their playoffs running as things stand right now. And that is the Danish Metaligaen. So they're in the semi-final round also. So most of the leagues that we're covering at the moment are either well into or have started their semi-final rounds, which showing that, guys, we're about to go into April and hockey in Europe is almost over for this season. It's been such a crazy ride, but we're almost there, folks.
Make the most of us before we go for our summer break.
Absolutely. So the two semi-final brackets, like we mentioned last week, it was the first, second, third and fourth seeds. And they'd pretty much all been decided. I think the Esbjerg Energy Frederikshavn series was the only one that hadn't been decided, but that went to 7 games, and Esbjerg managed to. Yeah,
that was quite dominant. Esbjerg won 5-0 in game 7, scoring 4 goals in the second period at 4:21, 4:51, 8:28, and 13:07. So you feel that within a 9-minute period, that game was completely done.
Nice, and it's the only series in that quarterfinal round that actually had the losing team win a game at least, let alone 3.
Yep.
So as the semi-finals stand right now, the Rungsted Sea Capitals, my boys, they're currently 1-0 down to Sondersjijk, the 4th seed, 1-0 in that series, and the Aalborg Pirates, the 2nd seed, currently beating Esbjerg Energy 1-0 in that series also. So still very early on. Chris, is there anything you want to add on the semi-final series or anything?
I'll add fair play to Sondersjijk for taking game 1. They fell. They were 2-0 down at the end of the first period. They went a goal down after 45 seconds.
Damn.
And then they managed to pull it back. So they were 2-0 down at the end of the first. They tied it at 2-2 by the end of the second, and then went on at 10:48 in the third period to get that what would prove to be game-winning goal. The Esbjerg-Aalborg game was very much kind of closer as well. It was 1-0 Esbjerg, then 1-1, then 2-1, then 2-2. Again, it was, to be honest, it was a complete. I can't see on the game breakdowns for the Danish league like any penalties or something. It doesn't say they're on the power play, right? Aalborg scored at 7:02 in the third.
Okay.
7:15 in the third.
Oh wow. Okay.
And 7:22 in the third. 3 goals in 20 seconds.
Wow. Okay. That's pretty impressive. I'll give them that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, well, fair play to them. I mean, talk about taking game 1 in style. Sure, it might have needed them to kind of finish off the game like that and have some heroics. But then again, that's what the playoffs are for, right? Surprising performances, surprising heroics, and that's what makes the difference down the stretch. So we've still got plenty of playoffs to talk about, plenty of European leagues to discuss over the following week. So it's not as if hockey in general is wrapping up in Europe, because we still have some regular seasons that they get to play some games,
we do.
But they're getting very close towards the end, and then we get to talk about playoffs with them. So let's go in terms of the order that we usually go when we're talking regular season, and start with the Swedish Hockey League, which has recently had a couple of teams earn their appearances in the Champions Hockey League as well. I believe the Växjö Lakers and Leksands have both secured their places in the Champions Hockey League. Oh, we also forgot to mention, Chris, with the KHL. Obviously, it didn't matter because that was the playoffs that we were talking about, that Admiral Vladivostok is coming back for the 21-22 season. So to pause on the Swedish Hockey League, there was an announcement made by the KHL earlier today announcing that the league would go back up to 24 teams for the following 21-22 season. For those of you who either didn't know or had forgotten, because it was ages ago since the season begun and since this announcement was made, Admiral Vladivostok announced that they would be pulling themselves from the 2020/21 KHL season due to financial difficulties. They had plenty of financial difficulties before COVID arrived, so you can imagine how much more difficult it was made with the pandemic. So they've announced that their finances are okay. The league has approved them to rejoin. They seem to have obviously figured stuff out. And we're getting 24 teams back in the KHL, so that's great. Welcome back, Admiral Vladivostok. It'll be interesting to see how you do this year after a year hiatus. But anyway, Swedish Hockey League. So there's some games being played as we stand right now, but I've got the pre-game standings as they are right now. So we can solidify that, and then you can take us through any scores that are taking place if you want, Chris, and kind of how that affects the standings.
Yeah.
Because there are quite a few teams that have already finished their regular seasons. We're kind of playing catch-up games now. So as it stands, we have Rögle BK currently sitting 98 points in all of their games played, 52. Finished the season with points in 3 of their last 5, but only won 2 of them. The Växjö Lakers, they have 3 more games to play. They're playing one of them today, so 2 more games after today. They're only 2 points back, and when I looked at it, they were winning So they might have the chance to jump up into first place in the Swedish Hockey League by the end of the year. And they've won 4 of their last 5 as things stand right now. Then you've got Leksands, known as much of a smaller tier club compared to some of the other teams here. They've played all of their games, finished on a 5-game winning streak, 94 points in 52 games. Skellefteå, 93 points. In 52 games, they've played all of their games as well. Points in 5 straight, but lost their last one. Then you've got Luleå and Åbro with 88 points and 87 points. All of them have secured their first round bye positions as it stands right now. Obviously, Åbro has one more game to play, but Frölunda can't catch up to Åbro. So Frölunda and Färjestad, they are currently sitting 7th and 8th. They've secured their positions in that ranking. So there's a few games left to play. Djurgården are currently sitting with 65 points in 52 games and Malmö with 64 points in 50 games. So Malmö have the chance to jump up to 9th place. Linköping still kind of in the race with one game left to play, but not too much going on there. Then you've got Oskarshamn with 60 points in 51 games. You've got Brynäs IF with 57 points in 59 games and HV71 with 48 points in 51 games. Now, I'm going to have to give a shout out here to my friends at Hockey Fever, who I went on their show, my Swedish friends. I made them do a big segment of teaching me how to pronounce all of the different Swedish Hockey League names. And I think I may have pronounced about 2 or 3 of them correct, because I literally forgot the pronunciations until I started, I literally forgot them until I started mentioning their names. So hopefully David and Martin are listening to the podcast. Shout out to you guys. And hopefully I pronounced some of them right. If not, I'll have to re-record it all over again and make sure I get all the names right. So, Chris, we've already know one of the teams that's being relegated. We already know 8 of the 10 teams.
Well, they're in the play-out.
Yeah, the play-out round, excuse me. So, yeah, we know one of the teams in the play-out round. We know 8 of the 10 teams making it to the playoffs. There's only a handful of games left to play across the league, let alone for one specific team. What are your thoughts as the Swedish Hockey League season starts to wind down?
Okay, so Leksands got a win in their last game. They jumped ahead of Skellefteå and Leia to finish the season strong, jump into that first round bye section. Frölunda now have to play in the first round. The bottom half is the same. I'll quickly talk about the 2 games that are on today. Växjö, they're 4-0 up against Brynäs, so they are on track to jump ahead of Rögle and take the league title with 2 games to go. The only other game at the moment, Malmö against Färjestad.
Okay.
Malmö are a goal up at the moment. If they win that game, they secure their spot as well. Now, all eyes are on Brynäs. The season finishes on Sunday.
Yep.
Sorry, not Sunday, Saturday. Season finishes on Saturday. Brynäs have got, including today, 3 games in 4 days to finish off the season. As have, a couple of the other teams as well. Now, their goal is purely get out of the play-out positions.
Yeah.
They're currently 4-0 down to Växjö, so not great. And they then play Färjestad BK. Now, score difference is the decider in the SHL. It's not regulation wins or anything like that. It's score difference.
Okay.
They are currently 3 points behind Oskarshamn. Oskarshamn are on -22 and Brynäs are on -37. It's not looking great. So even if they get level points with Oskarshamn, they will be behind them on the goal difference. Now, the interesting thing is that Brynäs's final game is against Oskarshamn.
Wow.
But because they need to either overturn a 15-goal difference or finish a point ahead of them, realistically, because they're going to lose this game to Växjö, they need to beat or get a point at least at Färjestad and then beat Oskarshamn in regulation to avoid that play-out round. So that's what we need to watch and have a look at when we come to record next week. And how did that finish up?
Yes, very interesting. Comes right down to the wire for some of these teams. You've got Rögle and Växjö sitting at the top being like, hey, we're fine. And Leksand we're perfect. We're sitting here, first round bye. We can kind of take it easy for a little while for the next few days. And then you've got teams like Brynäs, I'm stressed. I don't know what to do. I need to win these games. And then there's all of these goal differentials. Yeah.
So if things tonight stay as they are, Dujardins, who have finished their season in 10th. They are 3 points clear of Linköpings in 11th. Now, Linköpings, if they win that game, so Desjardins are currently on minus 12 and Linköpings are on minus 32.
Right.
So Linköpings need to win their final game of the season by more than 32 goals.
Oh.
Against HV 71.
Oh, they are the worst team in the league, so you never know, right?
They are the worst. So if things stay as they are at the moment, how far through that game is Malmo? They are just coming to the end of the second period, but it's only a 1-goal game, so a lot could change. So it might be a case of by the end of tonight, or however long we carry on talking by the end of this recording, that those are sorted.
Interesting. And obviously, by the end, if they have been sorted, we'll come back and let you know what happened, because, that's what we do. So let's take a look at the next league in the European table, the Finnish Liga, which they've added a new category on Flash Scores for points per matches played. So if you want to obviously, they might not get to the end of their season with a lot of the different teams haven't necessarily played the same amount of games, and that's why teams like IFK Helsinki are sitting in second place, yet they're 8 points back from Turku because their points per matches played is better. So, as the league under the PPM stands, I will take you through the standings. So, Luko, they're currently sitting in top with a 204 ppm. Then you've got Helsinki in second place, TPS Turku in third, Karpat, Eels and Kalpa rounding off the first round bye positions as things stand right now. There's been no confirmation in terms of teams securing playoff positions because I think they'll end the season based on the points per matches played, and then they'll decide.
There is still another fortnight.
Oh, right, okay.
There's still another fortnight of games, so a lot can still happen.
Interesting. And then in the playoff berths, as things stand right now, you've got Tapara, the Pelicans, Kuku, and Vassen Sport. Then outside of the playoffs, but no play-out rounds or relegation, you've got Asat, Hämeenlinna, Saipa, Jukurit, and JYP Jyväskylä. So those are the standings in the Finnish Liga. Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, see, when you're looking at points per game, it's difficult to kind of call the league because like you can lose a game and actually drop a place even though nobody else has played because of your points per game. So again, this midfield, it changes every single week. So Tapara, they are up. Tapara are down 2, others are up 1, Kalpa are up 2, and Pelicans are down 1. Asat and Hämeenlinna have swapped. Saipa and Jukurit have swapped. The Liga, it's going to be one where we can't really talk too much about it and know what's going to happen until the season finishes in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, and I feel like that's going to be a very similar story to the next league that we look at, which is, of course, the Swiss National League, because they have also introduced the points per matches played, and there's a new Flash Scores little information down the bottom. The final order of the teams is decided by the percentage gain of points. So, EV Zug have technically lost their playoff berth, which is interesting. Obviously, they're going to make the playoffs. They've got a 231 ppm. The next highest is 1.79. They're going to make the playoffs, but it's interesting that on Flash Scores, they've taken away their playoff position. I find that really interesting.
I think they just do that because of the maths.
Oh no, absolutely. But like, it's interesting that like technically, actually, Zug, you got to like earn it again. That must be really annoying.
Yeah, I mean, like the season finishes on Monday, so I doubt they're going to drop to a 1.6 points per game percentage. That's why you'll notice that like Fribourg have got more points than Lausanne. But they're third, not second. The decision was made in the week, so there's been a bit of a shift.
Yeah.
Servette have dropped to sixth. They've after a bad week. The other interesting thing to note, if you look down the right-hand side, is SC Bern, who have only played 48 games, have actually finished their season because their final 3 games have been postponed.
Oh, interesting.
So they're done. So they can't go any higher. As I said, the season finishes over the weekend, so we'll have a final season roundup by the time we come to record next week. But yeah, so everyone's going to have different numbers of games played, and it's unlikely that Ambri Piotta will climb above Rapperswil will, but we'll see.
Exactly. So just to round off the standings in the Swiss National League, based on the PPM. EV Zug in first place, Lausanne, Fribourg taking second and third, HC Lugano with Zurich and Geneva Servette taking the final first round bye positions. Then the playoff spots or the final playoff positions. We've got Biel, HC Davos, SC Bern, and the Rapperswil Jona Lakers. Then in the relegation group, Ambri Piotta and the Langau Tigers, although once again, don't think there's any relegation taking place this year because of the uniqueness of the season.
I'm just trying to do some really quick maths.
Sure.
You know how much I like doing maths.
Go for it.
So the best points percentage that Ambri Piotta could get is 1.04.
Okay.
And the worst points percentage that Rapperswil could get, if I divide by 50, is 1.06. So Ambri Piotta can't make the playoffs.
Okay, so we have our 10 teams making the playoffs in the Swiss National League.
You have the 10 teams in the playoffs.
It's just a question of where they finish. It'll be interesting to see if a team like Biel can sneak into that first round bye at the last minute against a team like Geneva Servette. Obviously, only 0.03 separating them. So that's kind of the last real kind of battle that those two teams have got, I guess. Because
the interesting thing, there are 2 games left.
Okay.
For Biel. I'm just going to check Servette. They seem to have done it to 2 games left. Okay, Servette have got 3 games left.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Biel have only got 2 games left.
Interesting.
They play each other.
Oh, wow.
So that will be really, really key.
That is going to be a lot of fun to keep an eye on. So the penultimate league that we need to look at is the German DEL, because obviously we've got some news regarding the Norwegian league, which we'll talk about at the end, because Chris reminded me before we started. Let's talk about the DEL, who are obviously in the second half of their season now, which is really good to see. Finally, some positive news from the European hockey circuit. So, in the North Division, or the North Conference, whatever you want to call it, the Berlin Ice Bears, 64 points, very far ahead of the pack. 12 points already. You got Bremerhaven, the Eislowen Roosters, and the Wolfsburg Grizzlies taking the playoff berths as things stand right now. That said, Dusseldorf is quite close behind with 38 points in 29 games played. The Cologne Sharks, 36 points, and then the Krefeld Penguin, 15 points in 28 games. Nice job, fellas. Then in the South Division, you've got Adler Mannheim, 69 points, currently leading the league in total. And I mean, they've only allowed 55 goals so far this season. That's a pretty good go. Then you've got Red Bull Munich, Ingolstadt, and the Schweiniger Wild Wings taking the final playoff positions as things stand right now. That said, Munich and Ingolstadt have 1 game in hand compared to pretty much everybody else in their division. Then the Straubing Tigers, they've managed to have a bit of a resurgence. They're doing quite well for themselves. The Augsburg Panther, They've done all right the last week or so. Then the Nuremberg Ice Tigers, they're doing better than Krefeld, but that's not really the best compliment you can give a team. So there you go. That's how the DL standings look as things stand right now. Chris, how many games are in the DL season?
It's 24 plus another 14, so 38.
Okay, so teams have about 9 or 10 games left to play in this season, so a potential 30 points up for grabs. So go for it.
I was going to say, in the tables you've got in the north is the Roosters and Wolfsburg have swapped.
Okay.
In the south, nobody has moved. But do you remember when I was talking last week and they played their first set against the other conference, and I said that there had been I think it was 5 wins for the South, 2 wins for the North in that. And I said, does the South look like it's going to be a stronger conference?
Yes.
They have now played 5 cross-conference games. So all of the red and green you see on flash scores are cross-conference games. Look at the amount of green in the South compared to the North.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that. They are all
cross-conference games by 1 or 2. By 1 or 2, they're all cross-conference games. Look at the teams in the South in comparison to the North.
Damn. Fair enough. Interesting. That's a really good note to keep an eye on, Chris. Nice work. You would think that obviously because how the season has run this year, it's they're just playing a team from the North and they're maybe playing a team from the South because that's how things have developed. But no, the fact that it's primarily inter-conference matchups now, there's so much more green in the south side than there is the north side. So fair play to the south.
Like even the Nuremberg Ice Tigers beat Bremerhaven, who were second in the north.
Oh wow, okay, fair enough. And I mean, like, if
they also beat the Roosters.
Exactly. And if you look at the difference, I mean, you've got Straubing that are outside the playoffs with 41 points as the 5th seed. Dusseldorf have 38 points. That would be good enough for 6th seed in the South Conference, because Augsburg have 38 points in 29 games, but they're on a 4-game winning streak, whereas Cologne have got, one win in their last 5. So even the worst team is better than Krefeld, Chris. Of course the South is better. But yeah, so that's the standings in the DEL. Obviously, they were one of the later leagues to get started, so not necessarily as many games played, but we're already starting to see a huge separation between top and bottom, especially in the North Division. Last but certainly not least, we have the French League Magnus, which we need to talk about, and then we'll talk about the Norwegian League very briefly, because Chris has an update on that. But Chris, you said there was something to mention regarding the flash scores results for the French League Magnus.
Yeah, so flash scores, you can see they've got like Nice -4 points, Bordeaux -2. That's that rule of 3 thing that we were on about the other week. But they don't, as far as I can see in comparison to the French League website, quite match up.
Okay.
I'll also, while the French League website is just loading up for me, I'll just point out that we know already there are no playoffs happening in the French League.
Yes.
You can see from flash scores there are only 5 teams that have still got games to play this season. That finishes on Friday. So come next week, we can round the French League up. It's done. It's gone.
Interesting.
There's no playoffs. There's no French Cup. There's no nothing. So let me just have a look at French League standings. Yep. So they are pretty close to the league. So I'll just bring them up side by side, because then it's easier for me to have a look. Tile to the left and tile to the right. So you've got Rouen at the top on 55 points. That's fine. Angers in second, 50 points. That's fine. Grenoble, 40 points. That's fine. Gap on 37. That's fine. Cergy-Pontoise, 36. Bordeaux, 32 is also fine. Mulhouse, 29. That's fine. But on the French League website, Nice are on 26, not 28. So it's pretty close, but you just need to take into account that, in fact, that is the only... Oh, and so you've got Nice, who have swapped with Amiens because Nice are only on 26. And then you've got Angers, who should only be on 21, not 22, according to the French website.
Interesting. So... I haven't quite figured things out
according to the results, Angers should be on 22, but according to I think that's the French League website that's got their maths slightly wrong.
Okay, unless they're doing like rounding down or something, because they were thinking about that, weren't they?
Oh, they were thinking about that, yeah, because according to Flash Scores maths, Nice being on 28 is correct, but the French League's got them on 26.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think it's either one of the two's wrong, and the more I look at it, the more I think the Flash Scores is right. But,
Basically, I have no idea what's going on. I never usually do. Chris has like half an idea of what's going on, and we'll figure it out at some point. It's basically the best way to do it.
Next week, it will be completely done. So the final table is the final table. There can't be that much of an argument.
Yeah, very good point. Very good point, Chris. Yeah, that was the French League Magnus. Chris, do you want to just mention about the Norwegian League? Mm-hmm.
Yes, so the Norwegian League, we mentioned last week they were going to have a meeting with regards to what happens, promotion, relegation, champions, what have you. Yep. We already knew the Champions Hockey League have given Frisk Asker the spot because they had the highest points per game. The Norwegian League haven't yet come out and said that's going to be the case. What they have come out and said is that they are keeping 10 teams in the league next year. What that means, I don't know if you've got the table up or not.
No, I don't.
No, it's fine. So Narvik, who were bottom of the league. Actually, no, Narvik weren't bottom of the league, but I suspect they were on points per game, looking at the fact they played 7 games more than Gruner.
True.
So Narvik, who were bottom of the league on points per game, have been relegated to the second tier of Norwegian hockey, and coming up into the Fjordkraftligaen for next year is Ringerike.
Interesting. So basically, so to summarize, I've got the standings up now. So as things stand with the Fjordkraftligaen, that Narvik's been relegated, so they're keeping up their relegation. That's an interesting thing. They're keeping up with their relegation. So Narvik goes down because they had the worst points percentage, or points per matches played, or whatever you want to call it. We get a new team join up to round off the 10 that they said that they were going to have next season.
Yep.
Friskasker has got the Champions Hockey League position because they had the best points per matches played out of the league, and they haven't decided. Did you say they haven't decided what they're doing in terms of like the league champions and stuff like that?
They haven't brought anything out, but the Champions Hockey League have given it to Friskasker on points per game, so that may be what they do.
I would imagine so.
I'll just do a quick word on Ringerike. Then they obviously got their season got cancelled as well. 25 games. They finished with a record of 22, 2 and 1.
Have they been in the Fjordkraftligaen before, Chris? I would imagine.
Don't know,
I would imagine this might be very much a case of they obviously had one bad season, got relegated, and now they're dominating their competition. You know,
Ringerike finished 1 point ahead of Lorenskog, and the two of them finished 20 points ahead of third place Comet.
I see.
I will just check Ringerike for you if you want to just make small talk for a moment.
Sure. I'm great at that, Chris. It's interesting to see that, because obviously with the Elite League, and we've been talking about this a lot, that the Norwegian Fjordkraftligaen is a league that a lot of the 4 teams in the league have been taking a lot of players from, because obviously these guys are wanting to kind of round off their paycheck for the rest of the year. They've got the chance to go and do that at a 5-week tournament in the UK. Most of them are going to take it. I think we've seen like half the Lillehammer roster make it over to the UK at some point. I don't know why Lillehammer specifically. You would have thought they would have picked up more guys from Friskasker or Valerenga or Stavanger. I know there's a couple of Stavanger guys there. A couple of guys from Sparta Sarpsborg as well, because I mean they only played 19 games this season. And they got 19 points. So it wasn't the best showing for them, but they had up to 8 games in hand on some of the other teams in the league. So they could have finished a lot higher if things went well for them. Did you find the results, Chris?
Yeah, I did. So Ringerike, no, they've only ever had one season in the Norwegian league. In the top league. They got promoted at the end of the 2017-18 season. Had the 2018-19 season in the Norwegian league. Played 48 games, won 2.
Damn.
And went straight back down again. They came third in the second division last year and then won it this year.
Interesting. So it's been relatively recently that they've had their chance up the top, and then they finished third last year. Yeah. So they've been a competitive team down there for the last couple of years. That makes more sense. I was thinking whether they'd obviously been like a long-term team in the league, had one bad season, bumped down, and obviously gone back to their previous form, or as a case, it was just like a miracle run for them. They managed to jump up. It's nice that they're one of the more recent teams that have, the last couple of years, they managed to make it up there. To be fair, they only lost one less game than Narvik and Gruner, so they didn't really do that bad, all things considered.
I'm interested to see why they've only done the one rather than the normal 2 swapping.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Like, you usually have it as 2. Either do 2 or do none is kind of my opinion.
I suppose maybe if you look at the Fjordkraftligaen standings, maybe because of the games that Gruner played, they played so many fewer than they might have been closer on points percentage, and Narvik were just so clearly the worst side. I don't really know, but we'll just have to see. So that's what's happening next year in Norway. So there is now literally, after all these kind of bits and pieces, there is now nothing more to say.
Yeah, I think you make a really good point, because obviously Gruner was 1 point back from Narvik, but they'd played 7 less games. So you would expect that, even if they won half of those games, they'd be right up next to Sparta Sarpsborg and close to a playoff berth. So,
I'll keep my eye on it. And if there is some kind of statement that comes out, because what they said already was only like 2 lines long, and it just said, "We are committed to having 10 teams. Therefore, Narvik have gone down and this other team have come up." And I was like, okay, it's not much of an explanation, but so we'll see.
Yeah, fair enough. So that's a look at all of the different European leagues that we usually cover on this show. Chris, do you have a quiz for me today?
Yes, I do.
Oh, good, because we still have plenty of time, so let's go.
So, today, here in the UK, I like to theme these quizzes and find tenuous links to ice hockey.
I love it.
Today is National Backup Day.
I see. Okay.
Now, this is supposed to be about backing up your computer.
Right.
But I've decided to make it about netminding.
I think that's a brilliant idea, Chris.
So, question number 1. Make sure you think about these as well.
I'll do my best.
Question number 1. Who was the last netminder to be drafted first overall?
Oh, that is Marc-Andre Fleury.
Incorrect.
Oh, who's the last netminder to be drafted first overall? Yeah,
I said listen carefully.
Are you referring to you didn't say the NHL draft?
I didn't say the NHL draft.
So are you thinking Ben Bounds for the Nottingham Panthers?
Correct answer.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. That's good. That's good.
You know what? Listen to the questions carefully. Okay, fair enough. Which KHL team had I said team rather than trying to get you to name the netminder.
Yeah, thank you.
Which KHL team had the best netminder this season, greater than 20 games played?
Oh, that's a really good
Regular
question.
Season, this is.
It's not SK St. Petersburg, because Magnus Hellberg, they split the net between 3 or 4 different netminders, so I don't think it would be them. I would imagine
as long as it's greater than 20 games played is the
right. Okay. So it's basically the greatest netminder in the league. And which team did he play for? And he had to have played more than 20 games.
Yeah, I don't need the netminder. I just want the team.
Yeah.
Netminder's a bit harsh.
Okay.
Because it was it like Askarov, but he only played 9 games.
Yes, exactly. He had the best save percentage, like a 9.3 something.
Yeah, but he only played 9.
Right. I would imagine it's one of either Akbars Kazan or CSKA Moscow. Because they obviously dominated the league compared to some of the other teams. But then again, I don't really know their goaltending situations. I'm going to go Akbars Kazan.
Oh, it's Dynamo Moscow.
Really? Okay.
Yeryomenko, 1.75 goals against average, 0.936 save percentage.
Damn, nice one. Okay. That's a solid season.
Okay. Question 3. Goaltenders have to stop the puck from going in the net, but how big is an ice hockey goal?
Oh, it's I've heard the phrase before. It's I don't know the exact dimension. I believe it's 6x4, isn't it?
It is 6x4. Well
Boom.
done, yeah.
Yes.
6 foot by 4 foot. Right.
I should have been more secure on that answer. I should have known that instead of being I think I've heard it before.
Okay, right. We've got NHL questions to finish off because the NHL does a lot more on netminding than anybody else.
Yes, they do.
So, what is the lowest save percentage recorded by an NHL netminder where his team still won the game?
Oh, I would imagine where his team still won the game.
They didn't start on save percentages until the 70s, I'm not looking some 1920s.
Yeah. And I would imagine it's the 70s or the 80s where it's one of the because the high scoring era of those days, where the team still won.
Yeah.
Because part of me was okay, well, I want to go Ron Tugnut with his performance with the Quebec Nordiques, 73 saves, but that game ended in a tie.
So he did this. I'll preface it as well that this was a starting netminder that played the game. It wasn't some guy that came in for 2 minutes and didn't save,
Yeah. So Ron Tugnut, he was obviously an NHL goaltender, but yeah, that game against the Bruins ended in a tie, so it can't be that one, but he made 70 saves in that game. I have no idea.
I'm after lowest save percentage.
Lowest save percentage, okay. I'd be curious.
I suppose you've got a 1 in 999 chance of guessing a random 3-digit number correctly.
Pretty much. Oh, that's a really good question. But the team still won. That's a really interesting point as well. The
team still won. Okay, February the 2nd, 1982.
February 2nd, 1982. I feel like it's got to be Grant Fuhr for the Edmonton Oilers or something, right?
It was between the Quebec Nordiques and the Colorado Rockies.
Okay.
It was John Garrett who recorded a save percentage of .563.
Oh, no. Oh, God.
But the Quebec Nordiques beat the Colorado Rockies by 8-7. Colorado had just 16 shots in the game.
Oh, wow.
Garrett saved 9 of them.
Oh.
What's more remarkable, I've kind of written a few bits about this. What's more remarkable, Colorado went 3-0 up inside the first 8.5 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Now, this is an assumption because I can't get like shots and stuff that far back, but if they had 16 shots in the game, let's say that's 5 shots a period. That's an average shot every 4 minutes. So he may well have conceded the first 3 shots he faced, or at least 3 out of the first 4 or 5 that he faced.
Oh no, that's bad. No, ew.
But they still won the game.
How? Who scored the game-winning goal and when? Do you have that?
I can bring it up.
I'd be really curious to know. Like, was it like a last-minute tally by like? It's 1982 and it's the Quebec Nordiques, like one of the Stastny brothers or something, like last-minute goal. Oh,
I can find it.
That's disgusting.
I can find it. Bear with me.
Everyone's like, "Oh, I miss the '80s."
You can
go for it.
Okay. While I'm finding that, I'll give you the question for the last one. Okay. So you should be able to work this one out. What is the fewest number of goals conceded by a netminder who was given the loss in his career stats?
Well, the fewest number of goals. Are we talking like throughout his career, like total in his career?
No, we're talking in a game. What's the fewest number of goals conceded by a netminder where it came up as he lost that game in the stats?
I am going to say that this is a trick question in the sense that the netminder allowed 0 goals in the game, but because it went to like a shootout or something, they don't technically class as goals or whatever. He was still recorded with the loss, but he made all of his saves in the game, if that makes sense.
Close. It is 0, yes. I'll go into it more. So just that one. Quebec scored the winner at 18:08 in the third period. Real Cloute is 22nd of the season.
Okay.
So Colorado had gone 3-0 up inside the first 8.5 minutes. And
wow.
And then they managed to come back. Where's the net minding thing gone? There it is. John Garrett. He played the whole 60 minutes. 16 save attempts, 7 goals against, 9 saves for a .563 save percentage.
That makes me want to vomit, Chris.
Okay, so yes, it is 0. You were right. And the story behind it is Mike Murphy in 2011. He was on the wrong end of a 7-6 loss for Carolina against the Calgary Flames. Okay. Now, Cam Ward was the starting netminder, and he was pulled with the score at 6-3 with 8:58 to go. So Murphy came in, and he was then the netminder on record. Carolina made it 6-4, and with 90 seconds to go, they pulled Murphy for the extra attacker. Oh. Jerome McGinley made it 7-4 into the empty net, and then Carolina scored 2 goals in the final minute to make it 7-6. Now, because of the way the netminding stats work, the losses are credited to the netminder on record when the game-winning goal was scored.
Right.
Which meant that Jerome McGinley's 7th goal, even though it was into the empty net, because Carolina got those 2 in the last minute, goal 7 was the game-winning goal. Even though it was an empty net at the time, Murphy was the netminder on record, so he gets given the loss despite saving both of the shots that he faced in those final 9 minutes of the game.
Wow.
What's worse is his only other NHL game, Carolina lost again. He came in with them 4-0 down at the halfway mark because Cam Ward had messed up again. He didn't let in any more goals, but they didn't win. So Mike Murphy has an NHL record of playing 2 games. He's got a perfect save percentage, but has a loss against his name.
That is perfect like story material for one of my videos. That is so perfect.
I thought you might.
Yeah, the fact that the guy's like, he's played in 2 NHL games and he's lost
the only games he ever played.
Yeah, the only games he ever played.
Credited with a loss, but he's never let a goal in.
But technically, because he was in the net to end both of those games, he technically lost 2 games, but got a shutout in each of those games. That's a really interesting story. I definitely want to make a video on that.
The thing is if Carolina hadn't scored 2 goals in the final minute, he wouldn't have been given that loss because the game-winning goal would have been against Cam Ward.
That's so interesting.
His own team gave him the loss, essentially.
Oh my god, that's so interesting. Like the odds of that happening are like 1 in a billion. That's crazy. I love that. That was a great question.
Never conceded a goal, but given a loss.
Yeah, Jesus. So I would imagine with the second game that he played, what was the final score of that game? Because obviously Cam Ward had allowed 4 goals, so I would imagine one of them was the game winner.
They lost 4-2.
Right, okay.
So when he was in the net, he played the final half an hour, and when he was in, Carolina essentially won 2-0, but the damage was already done.
And because he wasn't in the net for the third goal, which was the game winner, he didn't get credited with the loss.
Cam Ward.
Interesting. I didn't even know that. I was always curious about why certain records were given to certain things, but the game-winning goal, that makes sense, I guess. Yeah, interesting. Any more questions, Chris?
No, that's your 5.
Perfect. I thought that was a really good quiz, actually. National Backup Day. So, ladies and gentlemen, back up your hard drives, back up all your important files, and back up your netminders. Because guys like Mike Murphy really need the help. He deserves a bit of credit, I mean, I don't really have anything in particular I want to cover to finish off, Chris. So I think this is a really good place to end this week's episode.
I'll tell you what I will do. Let me just check that Vashko game, see if it's finished.
Good idea.
And see if we can give them the congratulations, you've won the league title.
Indeed, that's a good point.
Let me have a look. Sweden, SHL. No, they've only just started the 3rd, but they are 4-0 up. So
okay, we're going to give them. Hopefully, we don't jinx them. But we're going to give them a preemptive congratulations to the Växjö Lakers for managing to win the Swedish Hockey League title for the 2020/2021 SHL season. So yeah, on that note, I think this is a really good place to end today's video or episode or whatever you are listening or watching it on. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Whether it's the audio version, the video version. We just love the fact that you guys are tuned in to listen to us. So if you want to keep updated on all things Europuck podcast, send your thoughts, opinions, questions from today's show or for our next show, send us your thoughts at Europuck podcast on Twitter and or Instagram. Send them. We'd love to hear from you guys. And if you enjoyed listening to either or both of your hosts today, which we kind of hope you did, it's been about an hour, you can follow myself on Twitter at OddManRush or Chris at Chris_Gadsby. Thanks again for watching, guys, listening, guys, and we'll see you again next time.